Hi everyone.
Hi there.
Good evening. Welcome to Facehammer. I caught Byron out by surprise there. Sorry.
That's not good. I'm literally licking my chop. So I ordered something that was delayed 3 times on delivery before we started. So I literally just ran downstairs and then ate half of it in the lift on the way up.
It's like first world problems. Oh, my food delivery has been delayed.
Exactly. Well, my first me being able to see food when I'm hungry,
Yeah.
not being able to eat it that's severe by my standards at least. So
It's bad.
yeah,
I'm
at least this
drinking
way I've
coffee
had
at
half of it.
10 o'clock at night. Oh, what's wrong with me? It was like we surprised ourselves. It's because I actually did, because normally the intro video plays and it was disabled, so it didn't play. I wasn't expecting to go straight into our into our faces. So hope everyone's doing well. Obviously I posted up about the Facehammer Grand Tournament 2021. We've mentioned it before, but Rulespack is now out, and tickets will be on sale on Friday. We're going to be talking through the pack, house rules. We're going to revisit our tier list with some comments based on results and things we've seen.
And viewers' input as well, because I think that there's like 3 or 4 that are borderline, in my opinion.
There's definitely some movement from when we did our predictions. And again, opinion, not based on actual facts or figures, just, our finger in the air. Yeah, Andrew, sorry, that was definitely why you sub, right? So we're just going to go through our lists changes at the end of that as well. So like, we went to an event and we played games. We have recorded a full video on it, but the editing is a bit of a nightmare because just to give you a bit of my situation, half my house has been demolished at the moment because my garage is being turned into a studio. So I've had builders in. It's been a bit disruptive recording, and that's why there hasn't been any videos out. And also, it's quite a new format and a bit of a monstrous show, and there's some extra videos to splice in, and I'm kind of trying to find my feet with it. So it should be out. I wanted it out before this video, but it's not. So after you watch this, look out for the Mancunian, which I've probably said wrong again. Mancunian.
Mancunian.
Yeah. Mancunian Carnage tournament report video, which will be coming out. I probably will make it go live on Wednesday next week if I can, and premiere it. So keep your eyes peeled. If you subscribe on the button, shameless plug, then you'll you'll see it. I also will announce the competition winners next week. So I just need to talk to my co-host a little bit off air before we do it. So on the best way. So yeah, it's deliberately demolished Grace here, not accidentally. So it's,
yeah, there's not been like a localized act
I might
of
not
God
be
or
on this video if that was the case. Yeah, it was because I released the pack. I got a little bit of heat from the Luminef players. They all gathered themselves up and attacked my house. No. They used their Stone Mage to knock my walls down. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, used all their ether gold on their attacks. I'm sure.
that's KO, not that's ether quartz. You mean?
It's
all realm stone. It's fine. It got Kragnos
shiny stuff.
Yeah, shiny stones. So yeah, I think should we start with the pack?
Yeah. Let's just rock it through.
And literally rock it through, because I don't want to be too. So Rulespack. The link is in the description if you want to follow along at home. So basically, I'm not going to go through it because it's quite a big document. But the key information is the price of the tickets and where you get them from. It's an 80-player event and it'll be held at Element. So round times, I actually had 3-hour rounds last year. Well, not last year because we didn't do it, but the year before. So we will have 3-hour rounds because one of the things we found from the Mancunian Carnage, I'm going to get right every time now.
Perfect.
Then actually we had a a bit of an issue with round times because they were a little bit shorter, like sort of 2.5 hours, which used to be traditionally the time. But I think because in AOS 3 there's a lot more decisions to be made.
Yeah, we've bumped it in the past just because we feel it leads to a better event as well, haven't we? You know, regardless of the edition, I think it's important to be able to chill out and not feel like it's, I don't know, like you get to interact with your opponent and have a nice game, or not be rushed at the end. Ideally, you should be able to do both of those.
It's one of the reasons I stopped playing with Nighthaunt in 2.0 because I just didn't find I had any time in the game to talk about non-procedural game things. Crazy also, I don't hate Lumineth. Well, I have my issues with them, but I don't hate people who play Lumineth. Let's put it that way. So army selection is just your standard GW stuff. So there is a 1-week grace period. So anything that was out and including Saturday the 4th of September will be legal. Pre-orders don't count. So if for whatever reason a Battletome went up for pre-order on the 4th, it wouldn't be legal. But if it went up pre-order at the end of August, it would be.
Well, if that was the case, wouldn't it? It'd just be like,
And I've got burned before where I didn't put this in and something dropped on the weekend. So it was kind of like, what do we do? So what I'm hoping is that the Orc War Clans and Stormcast Eternal Battletomes are out in August because that's what Warcom said. But you never know. These dates move because times. Yeah. So first bit for us, which is a little bit different. So it's 2,000 points. But we've given some bonus points, haven't we, Byron?
Yeah, this is really different for us. We've not done something like this before.
No, and I think probably before we talk about the reasons why behind that is actually people who've only played AOS and not from the old Warhammer world that was days probably are not aware that it was very common for every tournament to have its own set of extra rules or adjustments or points adjustments. So there was a whole banding system for points, and although we kind of talked about like could we reduce the army costs of some of the top tier armies, but we felt it wasn't really appropriate.
No, it's a bit more positive to add a bonus to the people who are behind rather than remove X points from the people who are playing with super strong lists.
And with AOS it's kind of a bit weird because it kind of really can break some make or break some armies as well.
Yeah,
which could significantly tier shift, and others don't care. It's a really weird thing. Like some top tier armies wouldn't care, and others would be. I think Lumineth would be completely broken if you took 200 points away from them. They just wouldn't be able to function.
Yeah, it'd be a real struggle for sure. And we had some ideas about the numbers that we were going to do, and then after feedback, we've changed them a bit as well. So we've got 2.1k and 2.15k armies. In attendance, that's right, isn't it?
Well, 2.150
and 2,100.
Made me go. Is that right? Yeah. So we decided to give Header Knights and Flesh Eaters an extra 100 points, and Gloomspite, Nighthorn, and Beast an extra 150 points.
Yeah.
It's a bit of an experiment. I don't know if it's actually going to make any difference.
Cookie Monster.
Basically, yeah. So, that was always the old argument. So I kind of thought, well, is anyone going to complain about them getting extra points? Probably not. And because kill points is not a thing, it doesn't really affect. Oh, he played. So you used to have in the past. I played someone who had 400, so they had 400 extra points they could get. So, but I think an extra unit or an extra endless spell or an extra hero could actually be quite a big benefit to some lists.
Well, so we essentially our goal with this was that some people who maybe feel a bit down on their stuff, which is struggling, would be like, actually, screw it, I'm going to take it, and maybe my one extra unit of battle line makes a difference. But I mean, quite commonly for us, Russ and I are always going back and forth with lists. So often you'll write like a 2010 point list, right? You'll be like, damn it, like this would be perfect. This
2005
would be awesome.
Is the new year that everyone hates, right? For the list building.
Yes. and this gets around that, and then like you said, a spell on top, or a cheap unit, or maybe like a pre-game move, ally, or I'm really interested to see how it goes.
And in
Ross
like
has already touched
Sinesh
on-
case, it basically makes your keeper 320, not 420, right? So that's
Yeah.
probably what it should be.
Yeah, I think it'll make a really, really big difference. There's even a debate for going like 2050. It will legit make a difference for some
Well,
people.
even
But
50
we've done
points
this.
would. There's so many OBR lists I
Yeah.
wrote that just pip over to
Oh yeah,
2005 points,
2015
210.
or something like that.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. It's difference between having a unit of cavalry and a unit of Mortec. Because Mortec are 140, cavalry are 190, so extra 50 points, you're like, cool, I can have a unit of Cavalos rather than Mortec.
Or ending up in some position where you're like, well, I don't care about the spells, so I'll go for Triumph, and here's my 1,930 point list or something.
Yeah.
Screw it. So yeah, we're interested to see how this goes, and it is slightly experimental, so we will be reporting back after the event.
Yeah, I might need to do something on the Triumphs now you've mentioned it, because I don't know how it's going to work.
You could deduct the amount of points.
150 or 100 from it. Yeah, it's probably what I would do. I have to put a line in. Good point, well made. I'll put that in. The other thing about the army size is that although you got extra points, you still follow restrictions for 2,000 points. And I think it might make it's more an experiment, honestly, to see what happens.
I genuinely don't know if it's gonna. I would love it if people would report back on whether that changes enough that they would take their sloppy armies instead of their, like honed armies.
Yeah.
I don't. We don't even know if it's enough to encourage people to take those armies because they are really struggling at the moment.
Well, it's funny because I was talking to Alex on WhatsApp, and he looked at the pack and he started sending me Gloomspite lists, saying, "Oh, I could make this list out." But he was on the red wine, so maybe it's the wine talking. But he was saying that maybe a Krag, like a Kragnos Gloomspite list suddenly has a little bit more depth to it, or maybe it's an extra unit of Trogs or something. I don't know, but if there are plenty of people
you get to ally a Gargant in without it getting super awkward.
Yeah,
that's quite a cool addition.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I mean, like, this. I'm interesting to see. So the reason we didn't include, we looked at our tier list basically, and we were thinking about Sylvaneth, but actually I think Sylvaneth aren't as bad as because the update from Broken Realms, maybe they're a little bit better than we put them. Obviously there was a Sylvaneth player who went quite well at Carnage, so you can blame him for the reason they didn't go in the extra points column. So it's just I'm joking.
The fact that he got 2 1 in 36 chances in a row in his final game, we'll just ignore that.
Yeah, that's results based data, isn't it? You just ignore all that stuff on the table. You just look at the end result.
That's why.
That's why it's.
I mean, fact. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
fifth best army in Warhammer according to
fifth.
Mancunian Carnage.
Yeah, so you could prove anything with facts, Byron.
No, absolutely.
No, it's a little bit tongue in cheek, but there was a tweet at us about why are you doing it, and it's going to skew the meta, and it's like I don't care about results.
Well, we are literally doing it.
We're doing it to skew the meta, so they're more appealing because everyone knows they're in a poor spot, right?
Yeah, I mean, like that. We are literally doing it to try and give these armies extra help. So. Complaining at us and saying like it looks like you're trying to give these armies extra help.
That's exactly what we're doing. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, we are.
and we could wait 6 months, but Facehammer's next month, so we're not waiting. So I should turn my phone off.
Absolutely,
a good idea. And then obviously Arminist submission, kind of boring standard stuff. You can read all this.
Yeah,
so,
standard really.
Army painting, fairly standard. It's like don't have them painted. Terrain, so a little bit change point here because in the new rules there's rules for placing terrain, although I didn't use them all weekend. I just shoved stuff around and went, does that look all right? Which is what we've been doing in 2. You can play that if you want.
Me and my opponents did the same as well,
or just push them around, whatever. So we've always had the round timing caveat of don't slow play, and it's still there. So we've got the right to issue penalties if we want. So probably the bit that everyone cares about is the house rules. So
Yeah. Not many of them though.
no,
So we try to rein it back and pick on things that we thought particularly would be a good idea, and that's it. So
yeah,
I
and
think we
I
had like
was in two minds about this
7.
because obviously, like, it's only just the edition's just come out, right? So people could be like, well, we'll just leave it, and like you could. I mean, yeah, honestly, you could just leave it. There are a few things at the weekend just gone, which it wasn't, and these aren't really house rules; they're more clarifications. So, like, if you read the rules, there are ways that can be interpreted. If you read the rules raw, and normally when I referee anything or I rule something, I want to rule it as it's written.
Yeah.
The problem is some of the things as it's written is clearly wrong, is not going to be corrected in time for the event, most likely, and I don't want at the event because it's going to skew games in a negative way, in my opinion.
Yeah, it also lets people plan, right? You know, even if something comes out and it's slightly weird or different or something, we've said we're doing this like this, and people can plan their list or paint a unit or not paint a unit. So, you know.
Yeah, and there are a couple things that we've changed the rules on just flat out because they just feel a little bit too good. And I don't know if it's the right thing to do, but I don't think it makes enough of a difference to stop you playing that army if you play that army. Like,
Agreed, yeah.
I spoke to players of the armies that would be affected, and nobody was like, well, this means I do not play this army anymore. Because I don't want to do that, but also if the reason someone's playing something is because they want to abuse a rule, which probably needs to be toned
Feels
down,
like it might.
it's
Feels
the wrong
like
reason.
it might not exist in a few months' time. Yeah,
probably.
agreed.
Yeah. So
Although
it's almost
Tom may
like
now be taking my on by the look of things, so maybe.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Rather than the other list that he was going to take. So
yeah,
Go Trek. So Go Trek's a bit of a weird one because like I have a strong opinion on he should be, in my opinion, should be a narrative thing. Obviously I know people like him. I've got no issue with people that are into Go Trek want to take Go Trek, but it suddenly became he's so efficient for his points and for what he does, and because of the changes in 3, he not only did go down in points, but he also got way better because of command abilities, healing, all the stuff like that. And I thought originally I had more here, so I've given him a special rule, Legend of the Old World, spelt with an extra E because that's how they spell it. Go Trek cannot be in any core battalion, and wounds allocated to him cannot be healed. Now that's to stop him being in Hunters of the Heartland because he doesn't have the leader battlefield role, but he does have the hero keyword, which is a bit weird. And healing on him is just, it feels so
it's too much,
so oppressive because you just can't chip away at him.
Well, we just looked at the example that is the obvious one, which is Marathi. You know, what else in the game is as resilient as Go Trek or, you know, comparable?
Yeah.
So we looked at her and she has that, so it felt pretty appropriate to do that. We went a little bit further than this and then reined it back after some feedback from some other people.
Yes. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
I was just going to say, like, I feel like thematically and game wise, it wouldn't be an issue if he just couldn't benefit from anything and did his shit on his own because he's a Slayer. But we pulled it back a little bit more than that, so you know he can
still do heroic actions and use command abilities, which was the thing that I was tempted to take away as well. But on retrospect, it's probably a bit too much. But we'll see. Obviously, the idea isn't to stop people who want to play Go Trek playing Go Trek. The idea is to stop people to thinking I must take Go Trek to be competitive because it's a no-brainer. Which is
I'm not sure whether if this is enough to make him, you know, about right for his points or whatever. If any players of Go Trek are in the chat, let us know on your thoughts.
Yeah, that's a great comment there, Paul. But I'll just say that we test it and we give feedback. We don't design the game, but there you go. It's a cool story though. So chronomantic cogs as well. So at the moment, if you decrease time, then every wizard within 6 gets an extra cast. This can be
Easily
particularly
abusable.
abusive with Zinch for generating fate points.
And with Lumineth as well.
Yeah, it's also a very slow way of playing, playing the game, and because if you're in the hero phase and you've got like double the amount of stuff to do, it's going to really slow it up. So
yeah,
and then so that's the change on that, and cogs is quite cheap, and I think it's still got a good benefit. You still get an extra cast or +1 to charge, so it still does a lot.
Yeah,
right?
It's only 45 points, isn't it? Yeah.
So Carnage, Cotrex at Carnage, I think Alex emailed people and asked them not to take him, so it got reduced down. I think
it was about 8.
Yeah, it was a lot.
I'm not. Yeah,
I think it was 8 originally, and maybe it dropped. I don't know, but it was a ridiculous number. It was a lot. So the other change is on Spell Portal, because at the moment the way it's worded, it doesn't, when you measure from it, it says from this endless spell. It doesn't say from a part of this endless spell. So if you have something that hits everything around the portal, some people are saying that you can hit it from both ends and measure from both bits of the model, which then covers the whole table, basically.
Yeah, let's not do that.
Isn't happening. So if you read it raw, that's literally what it says, because it says like measure from this model, but the model's got 2 parts, so it doesn't specify choose a part. So you could. It's kind of a little bit unsure. So those 2 changes. Just one is just a clarification of how I want to rule it, and the other one is just a
quality of life
nerf to Zinch. So
people playing with and against, I think quality of life basically. I did get to fight a go trick with Sigvald. I went balls deep and committed so hard that it might have cost me the game. So you can wait till Wednesday to hear about that, but it was excellent, and I did absolutely smash him with my Sigvald.
Yeah. And Lumineth changes, so a little bit controversial, is probably the first one, which is the Shrine. So it's got 2 abilities, so basically it can get a command point, command ability for free, or re-roll a cast, unbind, or dispel per player turn. And yeah, it was definitely my fault you stubbed your toe. And I'll just add that. I was just putting it out there. Yeah, so this really, it's kind of like the Shrine in 2 wasn't that bad, but in 3 it feels really strong, and it's like you get it for nothing.
It does 4 times more stuff than anyone else's scenery piece.
Yeah.
Again, we had a discussion about more, and we pulled back to where we are now, but I thought it should be more aggressively pushed than this, having looked at every single other terrain piece in the game to see what they do. Nothing comes close to this one, so it just feels like it does too much for something that and it's quite easy to hide it behind a almost untouchable wall of dudes as well.
Yeah. And I know it looks like a big piece, but its footprint's actually not that big. I mean, I'm comparing it to a Bone-Toved Nexus, so it feels small, right? So it's but I think I think that it doesn't make a massive difference to its effectiveness, because you're still getting 1 a turn, well, battle round, but you're still getting 2 effects in a battle round, but it's just not as. I found that I played 2 Lumineth players and they never had to worry about command points, and to me that's in 3, that's not.
It's not resource management, it's just spent.
If you haven't invested in a way to, you haven't spent points or concessions to do it, you just, because your terrain, you just get it, right? So
yeah, it's not like you bought a slan and took a something or something like that. It's there.
And I can't, and that one I wasn't sure about. I was like 50-50, but after playing 2 Lumineth players, the Shrine felt overcooked. And trying to kind of, we did talk about the Seraphon one, but I just don't think it affects the Seraphon army enough to make any difference changing.
No, agreed.
The next change for Lumineth, so there's only two.
I think this is a really obvious one.
Yeah,
like
it's not. It's how it probably should be, right? So you've got Severith, Lord of the Seventh Wind, and the Hurricane Spirit of the Wind with the Spirit of the Wind rule, which is at the end of the shooting phase you can make a move. This just changed it to your shooting phase only. This means someone who can move and charge can actually charge you, rather than never being able to charge you.
Never charge. Yeah, he's still plenty good as well.
He's still great. I mean, he's still a great model, and he's still. I mean, to be honest, I don't remember when we playtested it. Playing it, you could move in your opponent's shooting phase. I think it was just an assumption that it was only yours. So it's like, it feels like that. That to me is a very negative experience if you're on the receiving end of that.
No, it's strong. It's non-interactive. It can't particularly be countered by the majority of stuff out there. So. Agreed. Also, very good point by there's some chat going on.
Yeah.
Scott said that there were 6 Gotreks out of 36, which is a ridiculous. 1 in 6 lists, including him. Only 1 came in the top 14. And then Tom's response was, it's the fact that he's everywhere and presents a really annoying issue for people on the middle tables. I think also that armies that tend to be on the middle or lower tables are ones that have a less varied bag of tricks. And therefore, some of them if you turn up with Beastman, you can't do anything but stand in the way and die to him, for example. So yeah, that's good chat by people there. Agreed with everyone.
No, these changes are just for our event, Sean. They're house rules. So where I know that rule's been FAQ'd, but I've changed the rule, so it will.
These are just things we want to do because it's our event. Like. We're going to reward painting prizes. That's not written anywhere in a Games Workshop book. We're just doing our house rules.
So the next one, and maybe the wording needs to be revised slightly, is Kharadron Overlords. So this change really is to do with timing. So it's a bit techie, but like if you get out of a boat, because it disembark garrisons at the end of the movement phase, in the rule it says that after a unit disembarks, the ship can move as long as it's not already moved that phase. But it can't because the movement phase is over, because the timing. So all this does is allow you to move the boat after they disembark if you didn't move the boat. So it means you still disembark at the end of the movement phase, but if the boat stood still for your movement phase, it can then move. So it just stops you having to worry about. It just felt like a little bit of a hit that didn't need to be a hit.
It's really difficult to play around. If you're slightly distracted by other stuff and get your sequencing up, you just end up feeling, sad about your army not doing what it's meant to do. So, And again, the event we just went to, there was 1 KO player there. It would be nice to see more than 1.
Yeah, exactly. And if you take KO, you probably want to be putting men in and out of boats, right, and not feeling like you're being handicapped. So,
hope so, yeah. Unless you're taking some Joe Purcell crazy list or something, which we don't want.
With no
we
boats.
do not want to encourage that.
No, I think that list is dead. It was dead a long time ago, but yeah. So Disciples of Zinch, Agendas of Anarchy. Now this is because the Fabian at Carnage was playing it this way, where the wording on this, if at the current moment, says you pick an enemy unit more than 9 away, and then at the end of the charge phase, if you're in half an inch of, it says you pick any unit, and then it says then you charge, and if you're within half an inch. So he was playing it that if you could pick a unit that wasn't within 9 and charge something else, because the unit you had to finish within half an inch of doesn't have to be the unit you picked, which obviously is not the intent. So I've changed this rule just to say that you have to be 9 from all enemy units, and then if you finish a charge within half an enemy model, it's complete. So it's even a little bit further back from being 9, pick a target and charge it. You have to be 9 away from everything, which you've got all the control of that in your turn, because you can set up. You can move to where you want to charge, so you could just move away from everything and then charge. But if you're clever, you could actually mitigate that, and it hurts the Archeon list a little bit, if you're, because the thing Archeon wants to charge could be further back from your army, so it can't agenda past. And although to be honest, its base is so big, I don't think you'd be able to to do it. I mean, you've got fate dice, so there's no roll really, is there? So, you know,
It's like,
yeah. And I didn't want to do massive sweeping changes that fundamentally change the game or an army, because it's not what I want to do. But there were just these little tweaks that felt necessary.
Some hardcore Tzeentch rules is written. Yeah. But yeah, like as Russ has touched on, I also think if you change too much, you can't validate whether your changes were good or not very easily. So we've already changed some armies' points a little bit. Not many armies, and not the armies that are particularly scary these days. But they've been changed a bit, and then we've got a small handful of other things. Doing more than that might have made it more difficult to work out whether they were effective, accomplish what we were looking to achieve, or stuff like that. So that's it.
Yeah. And for terms of event, the awards, we've also got 1, 2, 3. I'll talk about the scoring in a sec, but we've got the best player in each Grand Alliance on strategy points. We do painting 1, 2, 3. The coolest army. We also do the best opponent award for sports, which is the Herald. We got a new award, which is the Chosen, which is a meta breaker
award. Yeah.
So it's a performance, the best performance with an underpowered in bunny quote army. So it's
that could be a strong army, but just a really weak list, and they've still done well, or it could be a one of the lowest books, and they've tried their best, but they're still having to get Tom. Things perfectly in order to smash it. Hey Tom.
Yeah. And then we also do a painting competition at Facehammer. So it's like a separate mini, I'm going to use the word Golden Demon because it's not like that, but it's like a mini competition where you can basically put in your single hit hero, your monster or large model, unit, or a open category entry, which can be 40k, Star Wars, whatever. And then the idea is that we shortlist those and we pick a winner in each one, and the best in show gets the Artificer Award. So it's just a little extra thing we do to encourage people to bring their pretty models that aren't necessarily part of their army that they want to bring, or to paint something new. If you've already got your army and you're like, well, actually, I'll paint a single character or something like that. It's just an excuse to do some hobby and show it off. So it's quite fun. We display those out on the Saturday night, and people can have a look, and we take some photos and things like that. So. Scoring then. So obviously, like in the current General's Handbook, you have like major, minor, draw, those kind of things. So we give point obviously there's painting points, army list points, and scenario points. So the scenario points, we go for major victory, minor victory, drawing, minor loss, major loss. So it's a 20-0 system ish. So if someone gets 15, the other person will end up with 5,
Yep.
Now this one's the strategy points. So every game, every battle tactic you complete, you get a point. And if you do your grand strategy, you get 5 points, which means you get 10 points in a game on top for the new AOS secondaries, if that's the way to describe them. And that's just a way of saying that it's not just about winning the mission, it's also about trying to score out of the 5 games 25 battle tactics and all 5 grand strategies.
Also, gives you something to do if you just turn up and things aren't going well, or you have bad luck, or your army's mismatched as well. So I'm a real fan of having other things to do in that situation.
No, exactly. And we've got some sports stuff. So players code. So people may have missed it in the General's Handbook, but there is a player's code. It's on page 57 if you want to look at it. And that code explains how to basically, it's like etiquette, which is how to conduct yourself during an event.
Be nice. Yeah.
Well, yeah, essentially, but it's not even like be nice. It's just stuff that you don't need to like the other person, and they could score quite highly, because it's just stuff you should be doing to
doing stuff
you know,
right.
it's not a bad thing. I think I've got a picture of it somewhere. Oh, there we go. Got it. Let me put it up. So, oh, I'm doing this on the fly, so it's me being multitasker as usual.
It's all good. So a lot of this is just about doing things the way that it should be, moving tightly, you know, communicating clearly, basic things that should be a fundamental of every game. But I like that GW put them as clearly as they did in their book, even if people just seem to miss out that page even exists.
Yeah.
Not on purpose. It's just, you know, you're busy reading the rules and you don't end up reading that one.
Yeah, the reason, Tom, it's not opposed scoring is because it does make a difference to you winning the game, full stop. So if you give people the points, you're technically giving away points to win the game. So there is a opposed element to it. But anyway, player's code.
Can't get 20. Yeah.
So arrive on time with all the things you need. Make a respectful gesture, or say hello, or sort of wish them luck or something like that. You know, it's just introduce yourself and be nice. Avoid using offensive language. The unpainted or substitute model one doesn't exist because that's not going to be a thing at our event because it's not allowed. So offer your opponent a chance to examine your army roster, answer any questions, measure moves and distances carefully and accurately, which is a big one. The amount of people that float their tape measure, you know, and this is stuff that you can almost tick list it all off and just be like, you know, yeah, okay, so yeah, that was true, and the idea is to do this together at the end of the game, and it's a talking point. So if you felt anything was particularly off, it's not, oh, I didn't like their army list, or they won and I lost. It's, did they do these things which, you know, should be everyone's go-to. And then, you know, give your opponent a chance to examine your dice rolls before picking up dice. So that's just etiquette. Make sure they're clear what they see. Ask permission before you sort of touch models. You don't have to handshake. It's just an example. So you can just wish them luck.
You can wiggle elbows around if you wanted.
Remind your opponent about rules they have forgotten to use or have used incorrectly, especially when it's at your opponent's advantage rather than your own. So that's, you know, good. Yes, it does. Don't deliberately time waste. Avoid distracting your opponent when they're trying to concentrate, and be careful to respect their personal space. Never complain about your bad luck or their good luck. And never fix the outcome of a game, which is the stuff that Tom was alluding to with points trading.
Yeah.
We are also there. If I see anyone points trading, they will automatically be deducted points. So it's not a thing.
Both people could get 0 if they want to be naughty.
Exactly.
And Jack, you can swear as much as your opponent is happy with. So naval career or not, I tend to remind my opponent that we're having a good time by being
it's what
a sweary boy. But
again, what your opponent finds offensive. So like you sort of say it. I've had it before. I've gone into a game and I say, look, I sometimes I just swear, is you know just to check it.
Woke is the Warhammer community in the UK. I think we're just too old and fuddy-duddy to be woke, dude.
Yeah, I don't.
That's You're too busy trying to communicate and being slightly high functioning.
So the only reason this is in is, you know, it's just that it's to remind each person that, like, it's a game that, you know, you'll have a social contract with a person. You'll spend 2 hours playing a game. It's not about winning and losing as much as it is about having fun and having a good time. You're paying all this money, all this time, and all this effort to go to an event, try and like think about the other person. And like the reason I put it in is just so people read the code and go, oh, what is this thing? Because I think people just flick past it and go straight to the rules.
Yeah.
So
just naturally, it's not something that you study in the same way as it. Griff, people can absolutely bring an army that isn't exactly the models. You know, we encourage people to go above and beyond and do something cool. So
it's in the painting section on our rules pack. I just skipped over it, but basically, yeah, like if you've converted up a halfling army into a city's army, that's completely fine as long as you tell your opponent what stuff it is. It's more about like taking a snotlin on a rock and saying, "Oh, that's my bloodthirster," something stupid like that. So, again, I think it may not affect your score unless they get particularly salty about Gotrek dying in a one shot. But I don't think you can one shot.
I did do that, and my opponent didn't mind too much.
I don't think you can one shot him though, isn't it impossible? Because he's got a rule that stops
it.
It
is impossible.
You can multiple attack shot him in one go, but
yeah, I got him in one turn, which is my version of a one shot.
And then we've got the sports points. So you basically nominate 2 people at the end of the tournament that you enjoyed playing against, which is more the traditional sort of sporting. If you get 1 vote, you get 5. If you get 2 or more, you get an extra 5. So it's up to 10 points. So, yeah. And then we got the painting awards that we talked about, and sort of the painting masterclass, which has got more information. You can look at that if you want to look at more detail. And if you've got any questions, you can email us at contact@facehammer.co.uk. So, all that good stuff.
Wait, it's a weird time, isn't it? Because if people started watching us a bit ago, it could conceivably be the case for a number of our viewers that they've never played a game of Age of Sigmar tournament. They started it in lockdown, and they don't even know what an events pack is. Isn't that
true.
weird to think what Corona's done to the world? So, plenty of events bring out their own packs, which will just say like where to buy the ticket, blah 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 blah. And it is not uncommon at all for people to change something, so that it's to a theme, like if you're going to have order versus like good versus bad, or if I don't know, if people's clubs are allowed to kind of compete for another level of award where it's the best average score of club players or something like that. There's loads of different things that different events do just to put their own twist on things, and these are the ones that we are doing for ours.
Yeah.
Are grudges allowed at Facehammer GT? That's a good question.
Maybe. I don't normally allow them, but it depends.
Yeah. It's been so long that if someone really wants an opportunity to definitely have a game with someone else, I wouldn't be against it
I don't
at
think
all.
we really mind in the first round. It's up to people. If they particularly want to play a certain person, then just let us know, basically.
Absolutely.
So that's Facehammer GT. Again, tickets Friday. So if you want to come. Should we talk about our tier list prediction a little bit first?
Yeah, let's do it. This is an interesting one, and we do want people's input on the tier list as well, especially, and anything that we've spoken about in the pack. If you think that's way too much or way too little on any of the rules, let us know why with constructive approaches. Please, not just yellowing it. But yeah, I think the tier list is going to be an interesting one because there's 3 that I'm on the fence with at least, and I wouldn't be surprised if you're also on the fence with them.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, like we've just to reiterate: S tier Lumineth Disciples Daughters, A tier Seraphon Soulblight Idenef Slaves Sons of Behemoth Maggotkin, B tier Skaven Kradron Ogre Blazercorn Bone Reapers Stormcast Oric War Clan Cities of Sigmar, C tier Fire Slayers Head Knights Sylvaneth Flesh Eaters, D tier Nighthaunt Gloomspite Beasts. So and Merv, I don't know if you agree with me. I think there are a couple changes. So I don't know if it's. I think Daughters of Cain are probably A, not S. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah, you have to view Gotrek as separate.
Yeah, forget about that.
It's the other thing is though, it's just really hard to judge a list when it's not being taken hugely, or you don't get to see it, or I'm sure it is being taken hugely in the world before anyone corrects me on that type of shit. But that I have seen, that I've been talking to my friends about, I'm not hearing huge about them. I think they're still extremely strong, and it could be that turning up with Marathi and snakes still is the scariest thing in the world, and it can deal with anything, and it's quite forgiving, and it's really awesome, and it's scary on the double, and it doesn't care about losing it. A load of other things that make it strong. But yeah,
because
I could see that one being a thing.
Seraphon goes up to S, right?
Yeah, I thought this originally, yeah, and I still think it.
Yes, we're live, Gabe. Hi.
We are live. Hey, Gabe. Okay, so people, if you think doc are still S, please, please pop Y in a way that we can understand whilst trying to multitask that neither of us are very good at. Absolutely do. Marathi's nuts, of course, but she is only a single part of it. And all of Order can take their own version of Marathi, which is go trick.
But is like, I mean, what I will caveat this with, okay, is that this is current books, and this is assuming a high level of skill. So when we played, because the thing is about Lumineth, right? Let's talk about the elephant in the room. So I know
Yep.
a lot of people who play Lumineth, and I've had a lot of people say to me that they're getting tired of the community hate that they're getting, privately or vocally online or whatever. Now,
Yep.
I'm not saying I hate anyone who plays Lumineth. It's not about the person playing the army. Okay. Now, I think the problem with Lumineth, and I think I was talking to Martin Orlando, and he summed it up quite nicely, was that they feel like they cheat because they ignore a lot of the rules.
Or they ignore too many of them.
Yeah,
A lot of
they
books
ignore
have that,
like conventional rules, so it almost feels like a cheat. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it's that it's an impressive amount of them. Like
Yeah.
Teach have fate dice, that's a really big deal, but that's their major thing that they ignore. Some books just have a way to chuck a mushroom into spells. That's ignoring rules, generally speaking, or is an exception. But Lumineth have got enough that I think it's the weight of them that gives that kind of feeling. So yeah, I just think it's the sheer amount. Also, the fact that everyone comes with their own way. You're frequently playing against something that is buffed, or it's doing something that nothing else in the game does, or it's breaking a core rule. And I think it's those are adding up. That's the experience that you get.
Yeah, to be honest, Gabe, I didn't know what to do to comp Seraphon in the pack. So if you've got any ideas, let me know.
Gabe, yeah, put it down, mate. We had the chat, and it involves rewriting the book, and we're not here to do that. So let us know if there's anything neat and efficient that doesn't involve a huge amount of text that you think would make a big difference. But it's such a strong, well-rounded book with consistently well-priced units that kicks out CPs like nobody's business and is very flexible and has a huge amount of variety that I don't think you can't pick on a couple of things with it, but do let us know if you feel otherwise.
So the thing about Lumineth, and I think in the hands of a good player who plays it tight and is playing a particular type of Lumineth army, which is denial plus damage at range, they not only feel completely oppressive, it's extremely powerful.
Yes.
Conversely, someone who plays Stone Temple and just has a mixed balanced army, even when I played Liam Alford's Teclis army where he's got a bit of everything, they don't feel like that bad.
Yeah.
But they can
be. Yeah, when we're talking about these tiers, guys, we are presuming that someone's put the best possible selection of things they can. It's not someone who's taken a visually appealing 7 different heights in my army, one of everything list. Yeah.
So I still think that but I think also if you're a weaker player,
but it's
like
a normal player,
average player, not
just a normal dude.
And Lumineth are less forgiving than something like Archeon's Inch or Daughters of Cain or Seraphon.
Completely, yes. I think the Lumineth have the capacity to be far more resilient than you would think elves would be, but you need to do things right in order for them to feel like that and behave like that. And you need to do it very right. Like if you make a mistake, someone might just put you to bits.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, and Craig, I think that slaves could be S tier in the right hands, but it's a difficult one because I think you have to work a lot harder with those than you do the others. It's not as obvious, and I haven't seen anyone do it
much. Yeah, it's not as well rounded a list either. It doesn't do some combat, some resilience, some shooting, some moving, in 4 places on the board faster than any other army. It's a bit more reined back than that, I feel.
Plus, the changes in the FAQ with losing the reroll saves was quite a big deal, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because it
Yeah, it
was
does make a big difference.
they were disgusting before.
Yeah.
They made more
So I've
tech
got reroll
look
hits and
tame.
wounds. Good.
Deepkin pool's an interesting one because I'm not sure about them.
Oh, that's such a hard one to talk about. They're one of the most difficult to talk about.
It's like, was there any at Carnage?
Tony's. I played against one.
Yeah, but does that count as it was a Vacy Fiend balanced army? It
was themed, but
it wasn't trying to be competitive, was it? So
it wasn't trying to be absolutely top tier. It was basically, mixed MSU kind of.
Was he the only?
Middle of the
Dan
road.
Arnold for 39th.
Yeah, so 2.
I'm not sure.
All right then. So difficult, isn't it?
It's only had
I love this.
one or two events, so
yeah, everyone's got their opinions on it. So what are we? I could see Daughters going down to A. I'd be happy with that. And I thought Seraphon were S potential anyway, so I'm also happy with that. So we're doing an order shuffle, 1 up, 1 down.
Yeah. And I guess Soulblight, I'm happy still at A. I
was so surprised to not see more of them at the weekend, but I think maybe it's just literally having the models or having had time to paint the models. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, like if Greg did very well with his, I think they're super good, but I play Deaths and they're kind of, I think in a good player's hands they do very well. No, the Hawaii themed ogres were Beastclaw Raiders technically, so they were just riding Deepkin models.
They were just sitting on chucks, but they were from destruction, not from order.
I kind of agree with Greg's point that Deepkin are B tier.
Yeah.
Should we move those down then? They go down.
Yeah. I think that they're. Yeah, I think that's fair. It's a bit. I think they're a bit like Stormcast, where you look at all their bits, and kind of their sum is less than their parts somehow. I don't know how it is, but you think like that's good. They got a bit of that. They're very flexible. These things are really resilient. That thing does a bit of that. That's a cool ability. Decent allies pool, whatever. But I could see that too. I think that's fair.
Yeah. See, Maggotkin's an interesting one because they performed very well at the weekend.
They've still got they've got access to the only 6+ ability in the game still, and that has huge potential. It feels different now. Everything else has been more brought in line.
I'm sure there was some.
Also,
their
points are efficient. Sorry, I was just going to say that's a big thing in their book. A lot of it, what you pay is, you get a super solid amount for what you pay. I'm not saying they're too cheap or anything, but I think they are very solid for anything you put in. It does quite a bit for what you pay. Like Great Unclean ones are pretty cheap. And yeah,
I think they can sit around there. Now, I guess B tier is where there's probably going to be a lot more movement, right? Because I think we're happy with stuff is there now. I don't think we need to move Suns down, although you might find that as people catch wise to them, they will move down. But
I think so. Yeah. They're so different that there's going to be an adjustment period. So I could see that, but I don't think that period is yet.
No. I still think they've got the shock factor of I don't understand that I need to concentrate fire to drop a giant at a time, and they played unlike any other army. It's got that kind of like new army factor, right?
Yeah. And some armies just don't have enough to be able to do 35 wounds. If you're a small elite force that does a small amount of high quality wounds, you still might not be able to do 35 even if everything went perfectly. So I think that's kind of inescapable. What do you feel about B then?
I'm just going to put it in because people are jumping the gun. I ain't got there yet, but Auric War Clans to A, I think.
I don't think that are they forgiving enough to be A? I know we're talking about people running them really well and stuff, but
no, I think they are solid. I mean, James Box that I play regularly is using a big war list, and they're very good. I mean, obviously, there's a new battle tone come in, so that might completely change. So
Yeah, I've always thought that Big War is at a separate level to the rest of the book. So I would put Big War in A and
I
the
think
rest in
maybe
B.
you've just got the. I know, like I think maybe because the thing is with 3, it's changed so much of the game that it enhances a lot of even the Iron Jaws. Like they get so much enhancement with the command points being able
It's a
to use
heal.
the Iron Suns and stuff like that, and the
Yeah,
heal.
yeah,
And I mean, I think I just I do think they're
Well, I think particularly in Big War,
solid.
when you can poop CPs by taking, because a lot of the things that generate the CPs are the savages, the bone splitters rather, using old phrases. I would say it goes like Iron Jaws top of B, Big War solidly in A, bone splitters in C. But we're trying to do it for one book and we're talking about the best bit, so I'm okay with it being an A. Yeah.
I put little star. This is just like a scribble to people on these armies because I think they're kind of A plus. There's a tier between a tier, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I just don't think they're forgiving enough to be at that level. And if you look at the other stuff that they are alongside there, um, more so than anything else in that A slot, they are a bad turn away from being, effed.
you talk about
Um,
Oryx.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I think they're A tier. Like I think if you look at Maggotkin, Sons of Behemat, they're easy this on a level. Slaves, I think they're easily on that level. You might say Slave, Soulblight, and Daughters have the potential to be A star with certain builds and combos, but
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's fair. And we're trying to separate things into 5 when nuance is important. So yeah, I'm okay with that. What's next then? That's
uh, there's a lot
should
of
we not talk about Stormcast because they're gonna get a
well,
book
that's
soon?
kind of why Orcs and Stormcast were kind of sat there because it's like when we did this,
Yeah,
it's like it's changing. I mean,
and they've got such
Stormcast's
massive dragons.
in the fat
It's not
middle at the
even
moment, and who knows what the
yeah,
dragons are going to be or what the dragon riders are going to be like, because obviously like we've seen those models and they might be redunculous, or you don't know what's going to happen with anvils and other storm hosts, and
yeah.
we've seen some of the quality of the rules that come out in Dominion and they look pretty fruity, so
Let's
time
see.
will
Maybe it's
tell.
that time.
We will do a full review when we've got it, basically the same with the Oryx. So
What else is contentious in B then, or could go up or could go
um
down?
I think I'm happy with Bone Reapers in B.
Hmm.
I do think they need an FAQ amendment, so hopefully that will be coming at some point in the next few weeks.
Dragons.
Blades of Corn, I'm kind of happy in B. I know some people didn't agree with that, but I still think they're solid.
I think they're way better than the majority of people realize.
Ogre tribes, you could. I don't think they're A because I've played against. I mean, they were very popular, but if you look at like the spread, they're kind of all over the place. You get people who do very well with
Yeah.
them and people who don't do so well with them. So, KO, they're kind of in a weird spot.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I don't really know. There's some FAQ problems with that book, and until that gets sorted out, then
Are they as like, well, the discussion is, would they be going down? Are they at the same level as Head Knights?
I don't think so.
Deep. Yeah.
They're not far off it, but I don't think they're that bad because
Quite a
fundamentally
lot.
they still shoot the other. I think
Yeah, quite a lot of their stuff's quite expensive, and it was already fairly expensive. So you end up with pretty small lists, and some of the good stuff is extremely expensive, as in like it's 500 points because it's an ironclad, regardless of how good it is. So I feel the armies end up small, and I view them kind of similarly to how I view Stormcast currently and Ideneth currently, where you look at their parts and then they just frequently end up a little bit more behind than you'd think on the table. I'm not saying that means that they need to move or anything, but it's just how I feel about them.
Yeah, the metal cruncher mount trait stuff that people are doing won't be a thing at Facehammer. But
C plus. I could see B minus, C plus.
yeah, I mean you
On
could put
KA.
them down like a little bit. They could give them a minus. Let's give them a minus, and then you could give Skaven a plus, which is what people are talking about.
Yeah, yeah. I think they're just. I think Skaven are just a really big army, and you play it because you love it, and it's a very big commitment, unless Gaia, to get a load of models done. So now they're not the new hotness. I don't think they've got. They are underrepresented rather than underpowered currently. I would argue for Skaven.
I think
still
as well,
think you
like
could do
people
really
haven't
well
had a
with them.
chance to see the lists that are particularly good. I maybe I've got a little bit more of a privileged position because of the play testing and the groups I'm part of. I've seen AOS3 lists which haven't been at tournaments yet that I know are very strong.
Yeah.
So, and there is a
Yeah,
Skaven
agreed.
list which is particularly strong. So
That's not Storm Fiends, or that is.
oh
Storm
no, it
Fiends.
is.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, they are pointed well, Gabe.
yeah, I think Skaven are
Yeah.
kind of again in the hands of a good player they probably move up, but in the hands of a weaker player they probably move down. So it's they're not forgiving at all. So it's,
Yeah, not one bit. Either for your opponent if you're good, or for you if you're not as honed with them as you need to be.
I'm kind of happy with the rest of this. I don't.
Yeah.
You could potentially argue Sylvaneth up.
I think that's a bit precocious.
I don't know. I don't think they're as bad as you think. I think
based on what's this based on?
Well, Lariel's pretty solid with the change that she had in Broken Realms. You've got the new Warsong Revenant, which adds a lot to the army. Obviously, heroic
He's not cheap,
actions, things
though.
like that. Yeah, but
None of the stuff anyone talks about is remotely close to efficiently pointed.
But
And I
nor is
think
stuff in Bone Reaper's Corn. You know, like it's no different. Like
Well, okay, rather, I believe it's pushing being, quite expensive. Like the Revenant, if you look what he does and then put him in other armies, particularly in order, you don't.
yeah, but you're comparing it to Order of Faction is particularly underpointed across the board in lots of places. Whereas, like,
Yeah, and the stuff that is underpointed across the board ends up in SAB, and it isn't like that. Regardless of the strength of Order as a whole.
I don't think they're any less competitive than like the other armies we've got in there. We're talking about skilled players as well. So
yeah. So you'll think they're like OBR levels, and you think that's
I think
okay.
so.
Well, I'm not. Yeah, I've looked into them, but I am not a Sylvaneth player. My overriding impression when considering a lot of it is your army ends up bloody tiny, and unless you go for absolute spam of cheap troops, which do just die to shooting extremely well, I feel in the hands of a good player they're still fragile as all hell. They are on the extreme end of unforgiving.
They've got
like the real extreme end.
Yeah, but you could say the same with with Skaven at extreme end of unforgiving, and other lists like cities and things. I don't know. I think they've got a lot more options than it appears.
I think they have quite a lot of options, but their armies are small. They don't end up with many models. What's there isn't hugely resilient, and they hate the double more than a lot of things that I can think about. Obviously, you can build around that, but
I think they're better than Headlights.
Yeah, I'd be interested. It's not a if one beats the other, that doesn't mean one like they shouldn't be in the same levels. But yeah, I would be interested to play through that and see myself. Actually, I don't know how that one will come out.
I think the problem is you need to find like someone who's very good with Sylvaneth and knows the new edition, and then it might skew. But we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
obviously there was one list that did very well, the Mancunian, and I think if someone was a Sylvaneth sort of expert or decent player, I don't know what his level is, so I'm not saying he's not, but I'm just saying that. Which
I
was
spoke to his opponent. He said he played it very well. He did, however, also get 2 1 in 36 chances to finger off Kragnos and a Gargant in his game. And had he not done that in his final game, his final placing would have been dramatically lower than it was.
Yeah.
You know, just to concentrate on this one example to a certain degree. But yeah, I'm happy for them to move. If anyone's local to Stockport, I would love to get a game against Sylvaneth to see this myself. So if anyone is, then
I'm happy to be
reach
wrong.
out on the social medias.
But yeah, it's I've not played against them much. I've cleared all my scribbles, unfortunately. I'll have to redo it. So that was up there. That was over there. Yeah. So I think I don't know. Like I might be wrong.
What's the chat's opinion? Chat, what is your opinion on where Sylvaneth should be, and put in why, if you could. That would be awesome. All right, and so are we gonna chat about the? We're getting through to the soggy bottom bit now. So
the soggy bottom. No one wants that.
The soggy bottom. They are the soggy bottom. I'll talk while you're doing that. I'll talk about the things that I don't think are going to particularly change. There's no reason to change Beasts, Gloomspite, or Nighthaunt, in my opinion.
Well, that's why this is why we gave them extra points, didn't we? But I didn't give extra points to Fire Slayers for some reason. I think it's because I felt they might be B plus.
I think
maybe Sylvaneth a B plus and Fire Slayers a B plus, C plus even.
C plus, yeah. I think MSU Fire Slayers is a thing. Also, Gotrek fits really, really well with that army. He does, you know, you rocket him forwards, he anchors a point. The Magma Droths are brilliant, like really good now. They're more, I think the army's changed personality so aggressively, it's still in an adjustment period. I think that's probably the best way to summarize how I feel about Fire Slayers. Like, it's not here's 30 indestructible dudes, here's 30 indestructible dudes. It's more like here's 1/2 Magma Droths, a baby pop-up unit of shooters, some interesting ally or Gotrek choices or whatever, and a completely different approach to the game. But they spend CP, like they can still spend a CP to go first and stuff like that. They have very reliable combat troops, and the board is smaller. So I don't know where all of that evens out, but they're one of the ones that for me I cannot decide. I just put the box in the middle between B and C and ask for help from people.
Yeah, I think for me it's they kind of. I think they're pretty good because I know Andy Hughes was going to take them with Gotrek, and then because of the Alex email, he changed to Nurgle. So I don't know, but they might be better than C.
I was pretty impressed when I played them, but I didn't have a heavy amount of shooting, which they wouldn't have liked, or other stuff like that. So hard to tell.
Yeah.
Corky, can you clarify your question, please? What do you suggest for new players? Just what army in all of Age of Sigmar do we suggest? Or I presume that's what you mean, but do let us know what you mean.
Yeah, we can. We actually have a series which we need to finish, which is going through all the armies with our kind of like how they play and what we think is good for new players with a rating. So we will summarize that at some point. But yeah, depends what you mean. But yeah, I think there are some. There are some good armies for new players. I think. So something we were talking about, if we talk about tournament players, new tournament players, or like people going to events, we talked about taking an army with not a lot of head load in terms of having a few units and not having too many war scrolls and not too much to think about.
Multiple heavy phases and that type of stuff.
So don't play Lumineth basically, because you have to like manage all your Aether Quartz and your rerolls and everything. So.
Do play Sons of Behemoth.
Yeah.
Or quite a few armies in Destruction are just brilliant, actually. Really, really good for new players.
Yeah, so if I was going to like earmark some, I'd say like Sons, none of the top ones, I would say. Maybe daughters, ogres, orcs.
I think Fauna has potential. You can as long as you don't go crazy with the variety, you can take essentially 3 war scrolls, still have a fair amount of variety, and the most complicated thing would be the summoning and their whatever their points are called, blood tithe.
Yeah, I think maybe they might be a little bit techy.
Yeah.
To get anything out of them. Like you can play them, like, but I think you need a lot of models and it's difficult. I would say I think any army will require a bit of effort to get into. I think that like Soul Blighter are a particularly good one if you build a certain way. I think slaves can be good. I think Maggot King can be good. I would avoid Lumineth, Disciples, Seraphon, Ideneth are kind of a question mark. Khorne are kind of a question mark. Sylvaneth, I think, are a question mark.
Yeah, plus tree expense.
I would avoid KO just because what they do in how they play the game.
Yeah,
cities, so they're a bit janky. So, and that's probably why you could downgrade slaves, I guess, if you're talking about new players. Hedonites, I would that's a question mark / avoid. Fire Slayer is probably okay. Gloomspite, avoid.
I think Fire Slayers are quite good.
Beast, avoid. I think Nighthaunt could be okay. You struggle to win games, but they're fairly straightforward. Then maybe they're a question mark / circle. Skaven, avoid. OBR, probably okay, but they're very different, so they don't play like any other army, so investing time in them is kind of not investing time in learning how to play the game. Flesh Eaters, they're an easy army to play, Flesh Eaters, but you're going to struggle if you care about winning, or if it's just about playing game, having a laugh and pushing stuff around. They're pretty good. If you care about
phenomenal
winning,
for it, yeah,
they're not forgiving. So I'll put a question mark. So it depends. So there you go. So that was my quick rough and ready armies to snog, marry, or avoid for new players. So there's some marries in there that you know, marry Marathi. There you go. Yeah, I think I agree with you, Greg. They're a good learning army that will give you a grasp of the game, but you are pushing uphill in games, so it might be a little bit tough. One of the things when we did our rating, we talked about models and cost and how to paint, and Feck have got all that is going for them in such a good way. So
yeah, absolutely. Griff is right about cities. There's some really simple lists in there, but you're picking that out of a billion scrolls. So cities with assistance could be far better than cities without assistance.
I think you know, the good thing about, like, you know, you say about cities, the same with slaves in a way, or any chaos faction, there's too much choice. Yeah, that's why Ideneth kind of feel like a good starting army, because there's only like 7 scrolls. So like, what it's not a lot of head load. The same with OBR, really.
And ogres, yeah, I think ogres are pretty good for it as well. Like there's nuances. Yes, nuances on the same theme. You like take a more expensive version of a Grumple dude, and he's got 1 more save and 1 more wound, and he hits a bit better because he's the super bigwig instead of just the normal bigwig.
I think like the destruction triangle of Suns, Ogres, and Oryx is pretty amazing. Those 3.
It is really good. Yeah,
they're just great for yeah.
You're most welcome, Corky. If you've got any follow-up questions, then just
check our other videos out. We go into a lot more detail on that.
Yeah, we do.
And we talk about play style and things like that, and lore, and show some models off. We've done destruction, death, and the elf factions, including trees. If I got told off that they're not elves, but you know, they're elfy to me. I'm from, like, I remember when the Wood Elf book came out, so it's that kind of thing. Yeah, I think that's our tier list. I mean, obviously, I know we're just talking rubbish basically, but it's just our opinion. But obviously, like, it's quite interesting if you look at the Mancunian Carnage results with no soft scores. You had Disciple, Soulblight, Ironjaw, Seraphon, Sylvaneth, Maggot, Lumineth, and then the 3 Lumineth players at the event were all in the top 15, which to me says something.
It does. Was there no destruction in that? I'm just trying to remember what you rifled off.
Oh, loads.
Apart from the No, in the top 10, was it
Top
just
10, it
Iron
was
Jaws?
just Iron Jaws, yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, you've got Augurs at 12th, Sons of Behemat 13th. But there's Seraphon at all in the top.
God, it is really
Like,
close
there
to
are
our tier
some low
list, isn't
down,
it?
actually.
If you look at like the top 20, it almost goes in tier list order, apart from the exception of Toby.
Mm-hmm.
And he's
Yeah.
just, you know, he's just punched one bracket above his army's weight. Could say the same for Andy to a lesser degree as well, but he's
Yeah.
still done
So
well with.
Tom was playing Legion of the First Prince, which is not something we have on our tier list because it's not a real army. It doesn't have a book. Verkerel's Banner Corps got a book. Yeah, all right, I know. See.
Best in faction, Demons of Chaos for me.
So soft scores, Gracie, are things like painting and sportsmanship and army list in time points and things like that. So this is just kill points and tournament points. So I always found it quite interesting on mine that I only had like 4,000 kill points over the whole weekend, which is really low.
Oh, I wonder if
but Tom's got 195. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
Tom's was
it's so low. It's ridiculous. Killed nothing but won 4 games. So.
Oh wow! I'm just checking out who's got particularly high ones. Toby got a lot of kill points. By far more than
probably them. Is that the most? Just going down. Looks that way. As I'm going lower down, I'm not expecting it to go up very high. Yeah, he did have the most kill points. There you go. Yeah. Kill points are a bit weird by the way. Free though.
Oh, they are strange. What were mine, by the way?
6960.
I probably got as many as I gave away because all of my games were bloody.
I didn't give away
900 of Tom's kill points for one game.
I didn't give away a lot. I had 2 games I'd given up 0. So going into round 3, I'd given up 0 kill points. So
this is something that we discuss on the show that's going to be out on Wednesday. Russ is thinking of some changes to make his list a bit more enjoyable for his opponents.
Good segue. So we talk about the list. So I mean, my list, I think, was probably a bit too defensive and a bit too grindy and a bit too grindy. Slow. 6960. Oh man. So what would I do?
That's mental.
So my list, I would probably not change an awful lot in terms of composition because I liked it.
I think my list is gonna. I've got 3 games tomorrow, and I'm just gonna take the same list. I have got another list in mind, but I want to. I don't think I've had enough games to be able to justify my own opinions being as strong as they are so far. So I'm gonna have 3 more games with it, and then see if I still feel the same that I did after the weekend.
Fair one, yeah. So, I would probably. I think what I'd do is I'd probably drop. Probably the key point is drop the Warlord Battalion, right? Because I think Battle Regiment I can get 5 units. And all the heroes to be a lower drop to sort of give myself some more control.
To give yourself the options, give your opponent first turn most of the time, basically, I guess.
Yeah, and like maybe if I was trying to be more rounded, probably that actually. That would mean I'd be a 2-drop if I took a catapult. So what I found basically is the Gothisar cartouche I had on the Mortensen by taking Warlord very rarely came into play. Wasn't in range. I really missed not having a cavalry unit.
Yeah,
for speed.
I said this when you were writing the list, didn't I? Like they're the thing that I'm the most annoyed about always if I play OBR. If I turn up and they've got no cav, I'm just super happy because you know they're gonna stay in their box and they're gonna be horribly resilient, but at least they don't get to interact with you on their terms.
No, that's true.
And then they take the cav and it's completely different. It's really annoying, especially cav plus Arcan, because then they get to double team. And cav plus Liege Cavalos is a really reliable little pocket that you can just shoot out and go and cause issues with.
Oh, 10 points over. I knew it'd be. I was trying to be cute.
Need to put you in the 2050 tier just so you can write
if you
this.
give me 50 extra points, I'll be gold. I actually think I really like Kanan's Reapers. I was actually thinking about switching to Catacross Mortis Praetorian, but that's a
very, very different
very big
army,
change. Yeah. Kanan's Reapers are, I think, they're gold. I think. But I would probably take this, which might seem a little bit weird, but so drop the Life Swarm. Drop the upgrade one of the Mortec Guard to Cavalos Death Riders, drop one Harvester, put in Harbingers for the 3d6 charge and the speed.
I like them.
Because I think then if you've got the Stalkers, Harbingers, and Cavalry with the Liege Cavalos, you can actually be aggressive on a flank. You can anchor a flank with the Mortec and the Harvester.
Yep.
And you've still got the healing, you've still got the magic. It's it can be, is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? It could be a 1-drop, so you can drop this in 1, which gives you the opportunity to go to your opponent. You go first. I want to have the chance at a double turn, and I never want to feel like I go, you go, I go, you go, all the way through with people who can avoid me. And maybe a lot of this is a reaction to playing mobile armies I couldn't catch. But I don't think it matters.
That's an army type as well, isn't it? It's not a specific build from a specific book. Like, there's plenty of different types of mobile armies out there, and this will give you more game against all of them.
Yeah, and I like the Harbingers.
Have a bit more fun as well.
Yeah, and the Harbingers, basically, they give me a way to catch a fox.
Yeah.
Because I can move next to him, he'll move away, and I could roll high because they roll 3d6 charge. Not very likely, but...
Craig, Russ finished 32nd and I finished 38th or something like that.
Yeah.
Is that about right?
Yeah, I've only got the pure points. I can't remember where I finished, but pure points-wise, I was 22nd and you were 35th, but obviously soft scores and stuff moved everything around. But yeah. So I think that's what I would try out, and the reason Burning Head, I just quite like the idea of the damage from that. It's a bit of a weird choice, but it's because it hits everything it goes through. Like, it's quite a nice thing.
That's more than Arcane Bolt at range.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, you used to have that poke and you don't anymore, and I think it's a solid.
It gives you some mortal wound output because you can burn in head and then you can like triple bolt Arcan, charge him into something and just unleash your bolts.
Oh, I love it. It's so cool, isn't it?
Yeah, so
it's really cool.
Something like that. I mean, it's the cavalry. It's not much different. The Life Swarm was good, but I found that either the Harvesters died in a 1 or the Mortec didn't need the double triple heal. It very rarely cast it. I never rarely cast it, so
yeah. No, that makes sense. You know what's really weird? Your last list looked like a teams list, and this looks more like a single player list.
Yeah,
maybe. Your last one's a really good teams list. Like that's the list that you're like, other people don't want to face this, and we're gonna give it to whatever, like daughters.
I think I just doubled down on. I want to like double down on combat power, and be less worried about. Like everything else, like just be like, well, I'm not going to try and water my list down to shoot. I'm just not going to shoot, and I'm just going to go more defense grind. And it was great against the ogre armies. I mean, it just didn't die.
It was. Also, this one is trying to be more cute and will be harder to play with and less forgiving. And you've done your first event in 2 years, so you picked like a good starting point, and then you know, having had your refresher, maybe this is the point where you start getting all weird and techy. I think it's ace though. There's some strange stuff in that list. It's brilliant. Like that is more confusing to your opponents for sure, because they're going to turn up and be like, "What is a stalker? I forgot what harbingers do because I've not seen them since 2019." Like, yeah, I think it's I think
And
that's got quite a lot of personality to it.
the harbingers can be in Mortec Guard. They can be another unit of stalkers. They can be Archai. The good thing about the harbingers, you're -1 bravery as well.
Yeah.
And the Bone Tithe Shrieker, with you can't be immune, having an extra model run away could be quite big, particularly if you're playing against certain
anything
things.
that's, you know, 3 wounds or more, or 2 wounds, and particularly resilient, it does make a big difference. I think it looks sick. It'll look nice as well. Loads of different heights and like a proper smorgasbord of a variety there. That's like half the book's units.
Yeah, it's a proper like one of everything almost, isn't it? So it's getting there.
That's great.
But I miss the Death Riders. Just to have something quick that can go across the table and thread the needle and stop an unleash hell or get into something. Just having that threat.
You need something to be able to hook your opponent on. Even if they fail their charge, your opponent's still got to converge on that point that lets you do something around it. I think it adds quite a lot to the potential variety of things that you can do with your list on the table. Cookie Monster, the Varangard, I found really hard to get the most out of, actually. Quite frequently, they lost more on the turn they charged than I thought they would, being, you know, like 1 or 2 models. Not just to Tony Moore with his stealth filth of thralls, which no one's ever complained about in the world before. Because they aren't that good. But they are quite good against things that have more than 4 wounds or something like that. So I found them really hard to use. They definitely, the idea of why I put them in was correct. They did kind of do that, but I am of the opinion, which I'm not gonna check this out yet. I will run the same list that I did last weekend in my practice games tomorrow, or you know, my little gaming day tomorrow, and see if I can do better than. I believe that 1 Varangard and a sorcerer and knight is better than 2 Varangard, even though the knights have a lower save and stuff like that. I think you're better off going balls deep on 1 unit, making it practically hit and wound with everything, because rerolls feel super special these days, and going twice with that one, and you know, plowing that little corner of the battlefield very, very reliably, rather than having 2 and kind of presenting a front. But all of my strategies this weekend were based around that front, and it did something. So maybe I just need more practice at it. I will report back tomorrow. I'm not quite sure yet, which is
You're going to play the same
why
list.
I sound looking. Yeah, exactly
You
the same
change
list
it.
that I played on the weekend.
So
yeah.
you don't. You're not. We're not gonna. Are we gonna tech your list or not? Are you?
I mean, it's I can rifle through it, but it's just a very quick change. Right, you drop out 1 unit of Vanguard and you put in a Chaos Sorcerer and some Knights, and I think that loses you 5 points, which makes you slightly more likely to get a triumph.
Okay, let's just have a quick look.
No Celeste.
That's not meant to be Celeste. That's meant to be the epitome.
Okay.
I don't know why I chose that one. Chaos
I have been looking at it.
Yeah.
I was wondering. I was like, wow.
I've seen. I know
stuff.
that not Marauder Horseman. No one takes those. I take them all the
they
time.
Are a underused option, actually. They debuff bravery, and they've got a 12-inch shooting attack that I think has rend 1, and they're quite cheap. So I have.
Is it the contorted epitome? No. Oh, I've got to put it back into Slanesh, haven't I? This is why the chaos is a pain. There you go.
Yeah, I end up jumping.
Do you have an endless spell?
Cogs.
Aha.
Cogs was worth it. Cogs is definitely worth it. I've won games on the back of Cogs.
I think you're 2,000 points on the button with that change. You gain points, not lose them.
Okay. All right then.
So, It is
No giant.
Hellstrider, Archer, Vanguard, Chaos Knights, Contorted Epitome, Chaos Sorcerer, Keeper, Sigvald, right?
Yep. It
Yeah.
does become 2 drops for the addition of the sorcerer, but I think that's okay. I
Mhm.
think so many people are going 1 drop plus Hunters of the Halflands because why would you not? But
Yeah.
it's, you know,
That's the other thing about the OBR list that I wrote. I'd be tempted just to put the more tech in it just to stop anything. I mean, it doesn't do an awful lot to me, but yeah, I'd probably still stick with a lower drop. I don't know.
yeah,
Did you find the low drop thing, having the choice? How often did you actually have the choice? Every game?
every game.
And did
Yeah,
you always
but
go second or did you go first?
no, I surprised my opponents going first a fair bit actually.
Because of the Lurid Haze.
Yeah, no, it was it's very difficult because I'm not sure if you should be, because Slanesh are so fragile, I'm not sure if you should ever be taking something that encourages you to have the option to go first. I know that sounds like a really black and white view on it, and all games are different and scenarios and matchups and blah blah blah. But when my opponents got the double against me, it felt grim. Like really,
That's why I was
really, really,
surprised that you
really
went
impossible.
first. Because I know you've got the
Yeah,
chance to alpha, but you almost. It depends on the mission, but if you give them the first, and I was saying this earlier when about your movement, you can put stuff off the table to protect it. And you can be quite far back,
yeah,
and if they move forward, you've got to come behind them. So they kind of got to keep stuff back and almost spread out, which is almost
yeah.
better because you can almost like concentrate.
Yeah, it's a really difficult one. The Slanesh book is, this is why I still like it and find it so interesting. So the flip side of the horrible feeling that you get from the double is if you do get doubled, you pretty much always have at least 12 depravity when it gets to your turn. And that is a big deal. That is a huge deal because that's 30 demonettes. Or another keeper if your keeper died. Or you know, a load of other stuff. Ideally, you don't plan for your keeper to die so you can replace it because that's just stupid. But dropping the demonettes feels really, really, really big, and it's much more likely that you come out on like if you don't get doubled on like even like 7, like low, like really low. There's a very big difference between 7 and 12 in the book, or rather, yeah. It's basically I think it's 7, 10, and 12 is 10, 20, and 30 demonettes. And that scale does, you know, that is not a forgiving scale. You want 30. You always want 30. You always want 30. Good night, Thomas.
No.
Yeah, I'm still learning it and finding out what my opinions are. The games where I did give my opponent first did feel really good. You know, really good because I was less afraid of stuff coming back in that manner and getting to, if I gave my opponents first and had Sigvald on the table and knew that they were going to be coming close enough to me that I could charge them with him in my first turn, having used best day ever, and put like maybe 1 unit of Health Striders off only, regardless of whether I could have put 3 units off or something. That felt really good. So I'm still making up my opinion on it. This is the joy of the book. nothing's obvious or easy at all.
No.
So I'm gonna go and do research and then report back.
I've just chucked a list together of what I'd probably try and play with if I was doing Sinesh based on AOS3. Just because I thought it was.
It's going to have Sinessa in it, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
Glutos, Sigvald, Sinessa, a Shard Speaker, 2 units of Hellstriders, a unit of Bliss Barbs, 10 Twin Souls.
Interesting. They're the movement 8 weird ones, aren't they?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
This is grand strategy of keep a wizard alive because you've got Glutos, Sinessa, and the Shard Speaker.
Yeah.
You've still got the Sigvald. I would probably play Pretenders. Well, whatever it's called, the fancy one from Wrath.
Yeah. For the ignore 2 wounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Glutos is literally just
It's
your like big lumpy thing that goes in the middle. The Twin Souls are kind of like your aggro. I don't know. What I like about Sinessa is just being able to cast stuff at maximum range, having access to all the funky stuff. Like
the shooting attack's not bad either.
No,
it's not
really
as long
good.
range as Purveyne, which is anywhere on the table.
But I mean, you can kill a fox in a turn with Purveyne, be out of unbind range.
Yeah.
So the Twin Souls, I think, are probably one of the best combat units you can take in Slaanesh now.
Yeah, you just know that you're paying a bit more. Like they feel like 330 points worth of models or something, don't they?
Yeah, I just think they've got better in this, like in 3, because other stuff got worse, not because they got better.
Yeah.
If that, but I do like them. I think if I was doing an army and I wanted to sort of like stay in the Head Knights book, that's probably what I would run just to give it a try out.
No, it's a very cool looking list. Do you think the lack of rend is an issue on them, or do you just
Well, you've got
pick carefully?
Sigvold, you've got
Oh, I meant on the Twin Souls. It's like just flat as with them
yeah,
being an
it
option.
isn't. It isn't. I mean, like it's kind of like it depends. Their role is just to, I don't know. Like they haven't got
Yeah.
rend. Fine.
No,
but
I was surprised. I've run them out against slaves and only got a few attacks through on like a Chaos War Shrine or something like that.
Mhm.
And then they all did 2 damage and it died. That's
Yeah.
like, oh,
people
yeah.
still fail their saves, right? So I think
Yeah.
that the reach is good, the movement's
Yeah,
good,
it
the
is.
reroll saves really good. I think you can still take any 400 point unit, and like the Shard Speaker, for example, the Shard Speaker could be a lot of pain that would make the Twin Souls battle line. Therefore, the Bliss Barb Archers could be upgraded to something that shoots that's better. Like I don't know if the Whoopdies are
Ally in skirmishing, Ungor Raiders.
Let's just see what it is. I quite like the Shard Speaker. I know I like the buff it can do.
The wound buff's good. You can 6 or run roll as
Lord
well
of
on him.
Pain's 155. Of course it is, because why does it have to go up? Because why not?
You don't want him. It's just not. That's too
He's
much.
just not. He's too much of a tax, isn't it?
He's like a 90-point model. He's one of, proportionally as a percentage, he's one of the most overpriced things in the entire
And you
book. Which is
can't.
saying
No,
a
it
lot.
doesn't. It goes over points. I didn't know if you could upgrade to Bliss Barb Seekers, but no. This is the thing. Let Lord of Pain go away. We don't like you.
Well, if you're writing this at 2,150, you'd have some options.
Exactly.
So we
exactly.
will see if this encourages anyone else into it.
Could take the mask.
I love the mask. I think she's great.
Yeah, I think she's awesome.
Really good option.
Almost ironic that now I think the best Celestis is just load out all the heroes.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? You can do some particularly cute stuff with a mask. Like you can take the wound on her, then heal her automatically, get yourself depravity and be on +1 to hit, and then she's so quick that she can just rocket across the table, and do a load of stuff. Where do you stand on? I know you said you'd be in Pretenders, but if they were in Lurid Haze, the Twin Souls, at the start of your hero phase, you must pick one of the following abilities to apply to this unit until your next hero phase. Can you do that while they're not on the table?
No, I don't think so.
No, I played that you can't because I thought that was the safest way to do it. But that's another reason why they've not made a return for me, because I just felt butthurt that I had to start with them on the table in order to make that happen. Because it's only in your hero phase, it's not the hero phase, then alternate. It's your hero phase, then alternate.
Yeah, I think I think you have to do it that way. I don't see how else you could do it really. It's but I mean Sigvold, I think it's safe to say he's almost an auto, including every Slaanesh army, right?
Oh, he completely is.
Because he does something nothing else does. He's the Marathi of Slaanesh, just not as good, right?
Yeah, absolutely. If you've not got the Keeper, part of his protection is his offense abilities. When you got the Keeper around, being able to go twice with him. What I'm talking about, if people aren't aware, you can pick a unit wholly within 12 and then go again with it, as long as it's not the Keeper herself, because restrictions because of the Nash. But if you're not doing that, then I think it is quite nice to have a debuff or something to stand next to him, because he doesn't like being surrounded, particularly if it's like just by a lot of like rend 1 high amount of attacks average crap. Ironically, he wouldn't want to be surrounded by Twin Souls. So yeah, if you don't have her, part of his way to protect himself is to kill stuff before it gets to hit him back. And if you can't do that, then one source of a debuff or always strikes last from one of the spells or something like that, I think is a nice option. And that's exactly what I'd be doing if it was 2,150, you know. Maybe skirmishing Ungor Raiders for another unit that does shooting for depravity, and then see if you can squeeze in a spell. You might not be able to do that, but yeah.
Ungor raises 80 or 70, something like that. But
yeah, I think they used to be 70, now they're 80.
Yeah. So I mean, like, an extra 100 odd points is enough to put an endless spell in. I mean, you could literally just put
Not one
one
of the
of the Slanesh endless
ones, they're all
spells in.
expensive.
Well,
they're all too expensive.
100 points is still enough because none of them are above 100 points. So,
but we're 2,150, aren't we?
Yeah, I'm saying that you could put, if you got a 2,000 point army now, at Facehammer, you could put any of the Slanesh endless spells in.
Oh yeah, you could. I thought you meant them and the Raiders.
No,
which is where I'd got you.
Just no, I was saying that you could put them in, like, and have enough points, but maybe just tweak something that you couldn't do before because you end up at 2010 or something stupid.
Yeah,
so
the Triumphs are reliable as well. Be'lakor is great. I think 2,150 he becomes less of a. There's less kind of shuffling to fit him in as well. So it might feel less awkward than it does do otherwise, because you end up forgoing something that you really want. Like, I know she's expensive, but the Keeper or Glutos or one of your large units, it ends up being a flat exchange for him. Or you don't get the Slanesh heals in if you take him in place of another wizard, and that feels bad when I've written lists. But you can get him in and Shard Speaker probably if you need to, and one other wizard, which is 2 sources of a heal and a Be'lakor, which is brilliant and does a lot in Slanesh.
But it's like it just upgrades that Shard Speaker to a contorted epitome, right? Like in that list that I just wrote, because you basically go, I've got, so it's it's pretty good.
Yeah, she's expensive, but she's great as well. She's a really interesting piece to play with, and perfectly Slanesh-y.
One thing I thought I would talk about. So Pompey Pillage is on at the moment, halfway through.
Oh, really?
Current standings is Tony Kirby with Sons of Behemat on table 1 playing Steve Phillip with Seraphon. Then you've got Martin Clark with Nurgle against Matt Bryan with Stormcast. Then you've got Matt Lyons from Pro Painted playing John Thompson with Beast Core versus Daughters. So pretty interesting. Then you got Nurgle and Sons, and then Skaven Tide and Bone Reapers, and I see Bone Reapers there. Slaves and Sons, Auric and Khorne, Bone Reapers again versus Lumineth, and Head Knights, Skaven Tide, Gloomspite, Gits, and Stormcast. So quite interesting. Obviously, like a lot of games to play. Wayne representing on Skaven Tide at 18th, but I don't know how. Don't ask me what they're playing or how soft it is. I think it's more of a sort of a hobbyish event, so it's good. So
that's cool. Just nice to see events going down.
Yeah, it's just I know there's a couple of, like, it looks like the Eat Bats Cambridge guys with Steve Follows are playing some sort of weekend gaming, like, house event with like 8 or 9 of them, which I think is quite cool. So
everyone's doing the weekend.
So it's nice little, and you've got games tomorrow, haven't you? So
yeah, we've got 8 of us, and I'm probably going to play a full 3 games.
Nice.
So yeah. Looking forward to it. I think they've done a round draw and stuff, but I was being a hermit today. Yeah.
I wasn't sure if you were playing today or tomorrow. I couldn't remember, but
no, it's tomorrow. Looking forward to it. Tom's gone and bought some stuff, so I think he's going to be turning up with some it's a really cool list, actually. It's a weird bravery mechanic.
He was talking about building a Bloodthirster, so is it a Khorne army? Yeah.
No, it's his normal mixed demons.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's a Bloodthirster in Legion of First Prince, right? Okay.
It is, yeah.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Plenty to report back on. Really big mix of armies that we're playing with. I think there's 6 different armies out of the 8 people, or maybe 7 different armies, so should be good.
Yeah, and I haven't got any games planned until Facehammer, probably. I don't know if I'm going to get some games in the week, but because of the building work, probably not. So I'll live precariously through
some
your
more
hobby.
OBR.
I've got plenty of stuff to paint. So
Yeah.
I've got to repaint my. I'm going to rebase my cavalry, get them ready. I'm not going to do a crawler yet because it's not in my list, and I've got some more gas that could do with being upscaled and rebased. So got some bits and bobs to plod around with if I've got some time. But I'm actually building a new army, which I'm keeping a little bit under my hat at the moment. So
Interesting.
I should reveal. Yeah, and I'll announce obviously the winners of the competition in the week. So I'll do that as a community post on Twitter and Facebook if I work out and do it and that. So we'll talk about it in the next video. So I was going to do it tonight,
Wonderful.
but I didn't want to.
We'll cover it. We'll cover it on Wednesday.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Wonderful.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for tuning in, peeps.
Have a good evening. Have a good weekend, wherever you are.
Absolutely. Thanks very much for the engagement, peeps. Cookie Monster, tune into Wednesday's show and you'll get a horribly in-depth answer to the Bliss Barb dilemma. It's kind of predictable, but I do go balls deep on it.
Yeah, I will try and get that video out for Wednesday, so watch this space. Thanks everyone who watched. Like and subscribe, algorithm things, and we'll catch you all in the next one.
See you in a bit, peeps. Bye. Thanks for tuning in.
Laters.